So here we have it, another state looking to reclaim their authority over their own money by issuing a legal tender law that makes gold and silver money again. Let's talk about it. All right, so I want to check in for a quick minute. It's been a while since I've done a quick take where I just cover a news story in a quick and timely manner about some developments in the state of Kansas, as this becomes possibly the fourth state that looks to actually follow the Constitution by giving gold and silver its rightful place as legal tender within the state. So I came across a couple things here that I want to touch on briefly and just share it real quick and share my thoughts on how I believe this is going to become a more timely trend as more states realize the dangers of relying upon Federal Reserve notes, especially given this next upcoming stimulus bill that's expected to be voted on this upcoming Friday. So let's dive into this real quick. So here's an article here that came out on Shift Gold as of yesterday, and I figured with all the stuff going on right now, it may not get much attention, and so I thought I would just highlight a couple things here, share my 2 cents on it, and just basically continue to encourage those that have been very patiently waiting on the nominal price of silver and gold to eventually reach its true nominal price, and to remind you to continue to be of good courage because your time will come. And so here's an article here, as I mentioned, it says Kansas bill would make gold and silver legal tender in the state. And so just I think about a week ago, I talked about a bill in Wyoming, I think it was HR 7, and where the treasurer there, or the government there, is looking to allow gold on the balance sheet of the treasurer there. And so once again, we're going to see more momentum as time moves forward as the price of gold and silver rises. And so here, just give you an idea, it says a bill introduced in Kansas House was to recognize gold and silver specie as legal tender and repeal all tax levied on it. The legislation would pave the way for Kansans to use gold and silver in everyday transactions. It says even though state action can't end the Fed, there are steps states can take to undermine the Federal Reserve monopoly in money. It says a coalition of 4 Republicans introduced House Bill 2123 on January 25th. It says in effect, gold and silver specie will be treated as money, putting it on par with the Federal Reserve notes in Kansas. It says under the proposed law, quote, legal tender means a recognized medium of exchange for the payment of debts and taxes. It says by allowing the court to designate additional specie to be used as legal tender, Kansas would free its citizens from potential supply constraints imposed by the use of only United States gold and silver coins. So ultimately, just not stipulating legal tender only as government issued coins, but allowing anything in the form of gold and silver to be utilized as well. It says practically speaking, the passage of HB 2123 would allow residents to use gold and silver coins to pay taxes and other debts owed to the state. And on the surface, that sounds good, but it's one of those things where, as of right now, when the Federal Reserve is not even begin really destroying the currency in the way that it's going to end up in the future, I'm not quite sure people still want to use those things. But this is definitely some good news because it would encourage citizens in Kansas as well as in other states to realize the importance of holding gold and silver. And so it says passage of this bill would build on a foundation set in 2019 when Kansas repealed the sales tax on gold and silver. It says Kansas could become the 4th state to recognize gold and silver as legal tender. It says Utah led the way, reestablishing constitutional money in 2011. Wyoming and Oklahoma have also joined. And so kicking down the barriers. And so taxes on gold and silver erect barriers to using gold and silver as money by raising transaction costs. It says HB 2123 would exempt gold and silver bullion from state capital gains taxes. It says passage on this legislation would eliminate a barrier to investing in gold and silver. The idea of taxing money is extremely stupid, but it's one of those things where because the population has been so dumbed down, most people unfortunately don't realize that gold and silver is money and it should not have a tax on it in and of itself. And then it lays out an example here as to how if you went to a grocery store, and you gave somebody a bill and they charged you a tax on top of the actual sale of the item that you're looking to acquire, how nobody would actually fall for that. But it's one of those things where at this point most people don't consider. So then it talks about here basically the passage of this HB 2123 would effectively legalize the U.S. Constitution in Kansas. And so we all know, according to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, it states that gold and silver should be used as legal tender. But we've been far removed from that concept in this current financial paradigm we're in. Then it goes on to say here, passage of HB 213 would reestablish gold and silver as legal tender in the state and take a step toward the constitutional requirement ignored for decades in every state. Says this would also begin the process of abolishing the Federal Reserve System by attacking it from the bottom up, pulling the rug out from under it by working to make its function irrelevant at a state and local level, and setting the stage to undermine the Federal Reserve monopoly by introducing competition into the monetary system. So ultimately, that's what it's all about. It's about introducing competition back into this paradigm, because once again, we've been so dumbed down as a people to only think that Federal Reserve notes and as well as the digits associated with that is actual money. But yet now, with this action here in Kansas, I think it will be an eye-opening experience for a lot of the citizens there to begin really considering the importance of holding gold and silver on top of all this supply situation that we're about to experience this upcoming week and future months. And so thought I would just take a minute, share this quick article, get your thoughts on it. But yet, once again, it's more good news for sovereign states as they look to really reinstate the constitutional amendment that they should have already been paying attention to by putting gold and silver back into its rightful place as legal tender. Now, one of the biggest problems they're going to find out is that not a lot of people will actually want to put that gold and silver into circulation at this current moment, because we have yet to experience the true amount of the wealth destruction that will take place in Federal Reserve note terms. So just thought I would take a quick minute, share my 2 cents on this, as well as bring this to your attention. What do you think? Is this some positive momentum that other states will probably pick up on pretty soon? I'm curious to know. Leave a comment down below. Looking forward to seeing you later on for a little live talk. Enjoy your day.